Become awake and aware of who we really are as these essential beings and the energetics that we can look at ourselves and look what is our essential, personality in a way. What have we come here? What are the things we want to do? What are some of our natural imbalances that we've come here with? And that's sort of like our path in a way. The things that are difficult for us are where healing is being called for, right? So there's signposts in a way and clues to help to get us into understanding again our infinite being.
Hello and welcome to Curious Ones podcast by Yandara. I'm Yael Ginzburg, the host of the podcast, a yoga and meditation teacher and philosophy lover. Each week you will hear eye-opening interviews with the different teachers of the Yandara Yoga Institute located in beautiful Baja, Mexico, along with other teachers that pass through here. This life-changing knowledge shared through authentic, heartfelt communication will help you live a happier, more fulfilled, and connected life. Let's dive in. I'm so honored to have my guest today, Mercy Ananda, with me. Mercy is one of the lead yoga teachers here at Yandara and has been practicing and teaching yoga for over 50 years, including Hatha, Vinyasa, and Kundalini yoga, just to name a few, but many, many more. Mercy, what I love about Mercy's teaching is that she really brings the music here to the grounds. She leads sacred music evenings with the band that she is part of, Jaya, as well as through sound healing sessions and music classes. She holds a bachelor's degree in music with a classical violin focus and an MA in music composition with a minor in ethnomusicology and electronic music. She is also trained as a sound healer and has studied with maestros Ali Akbar Khan and Deepak Ram and the teachers Swami Satchidananda and Baba Hari Das. Mercy has a deep knowledge of the Vedic philosophies and the Sanskrit language that is so amazing and is also the co-author of the book Divine Love Astrology with her partner Shiva Das. She is one of my biggest inspirations and I am excited to be able to share her teachings with others. Welcome, Mercy. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Yael. It's wonderful to be here with you. Thank you.
Well, I'm really excited. Mercy was my teacher in the training that I did here and really is the person I aspire to be. So I hope that we're able to really transfer that in this interview. Let's start with your love of music. What does music mean to you? What does it bring to your life? What is it, the importance of it for you in your life?
Well, music seems to have always been a very natural part of my life. When I was a young girl, I would lay on my back in the grass, and my father had given me a mandolin when I was about 7 years old. And I had no idea how to play it, really. But I would lay on my back with my mandolin kind of here, and I'd be on the grass, and I'd look up at the clouds, and I'd just strum it along and make up songs. And I would go inside at night, and our family was fairly musical, really. And my mother had a beautiful piano, and so at night I would turn off all the lights in the house, in the room where the piano was, and sit and just play the piano. And I didn't have any idea what I was doing. And I kind of taught myself how to play the piano and read music. And then I started playing violin when I was 8 and loved to sing, always sang in the school, choirs and singing groups, and sang at church. And yeah, just music And probably movement too. Music and dance, to me, always went together. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I really enjoy like a Hatha Yoga Vinyasa style. I like to put on some really nice music, and you've been to my classes. Yeah. I just love to do that and move and free the body and feel the music, move the body. I've always found that dance to me is one of the most beneficial ways to get exercise for me, you know, and move. And so then as I got into yoga and combining the breath with that and consciousness with that and understanding more about how energies move in the body, breath moves in the body, being able to consciously kind of center in and bring healing energy into my body as I'm moving and feeling the music, chanting especially. A number of years back, I took a course called The History of Yoga Vinyasa. And it was quite a long course. And in the course, we looked into all the ancient texts about yoga and started to discover that vinyasa and chanting and the idea of mantra and bringing humming and a little bit of music into the vinyasa style was an ancient part of yoga, really. And mantra and chanting and music per se, or sound, we could say, is such an integral part of the healing aspects of yoga. And for me then, as you said, I studied with Maestro Ali Akbar Khan and with Deepak Ram, and I learned what's called Hindustani Sangeet, which is a style of music that is indigenous to India and to the ancient Ayurvedic practices of healing. And all the ragas that I learned, the different scale types on the instruments that I was playing. I played the violin during that time and also the sitar. And I would learn these scales and the ragas, and they're done like at a certain time of the day. You know, maybe early in the morning, and those times will have certain notes and not others. And so that music is specific for healing and for attuning us vibratorily to that hour of the day and the kind of energy maybe that we have, like as we wake up in the morning, you know, just the right notes for that, just the right speeds and the little turns of notes for that. So music to me is, I guess, maybe a wonderful celebration in a way of the energy that's available to all of us and our life force energy, and a celebration that has like a deep connection to meaning and healing and, the deep prana that's available for all of us. So for me, really, music and life is yoga. Yeah.
Beautiful. It's very interesting what you mentioned, that it's actually an ancient form of healing. And as I was researching this subject, I realized that it was actually present in almost all the different cultures in the world. The ancient Egyptians had these chambers for sound healing. And I think I read almost 40,000 years ago, there is evidence in Australia, the indigenous people, that were using ancient didgeridoos.
Didgeridoo, exactly, didgeridoos. Yeah.
And it's incredible that already then, when they didn't have the science to, really find the facts, they were able to feel the healing effects of music. So could you talk a little bit about music as a healer?
Well, I guess what we could start with would be to understand that initially everything is vibration, right? Everything is in movement, and anything that moves creates a little sound, right? Any vibration, even if it's a sound we can't hear to the human ear, it's still going on. And we can feel it in the vibratory essence of who we are, right? All the planets are all singing. They all have tones. And NASA's has recordings of them. And so the whole of creation is vibrating and singing this beautiful music. Some of the ancient composers would call it music of the spheres, or, you know, all, like you said, so many cultures have used and understand the healing power of music. And so if, let's say, we talked a moment ago about ragas that were specific times of the day. And the idea of when we get up in the morning, we're naturally moving kind of slowly, right? And if our life is in harmony and we're living just, you know, the idyllic, really great life, then our whole day kind of proceeds in harmony. We might start slowly and then naturally speed up a bit, and then maybe we'll have time to rest, and then maybe we'll move a little more and do something, work in the garden or go for a walk. But our, you know, modern society has gotten out of attunement with a lot of the natural rhythms.
So true.
Yeah. And music as well, when we think about vibration, we think about tone, a note that's happening, a specific tone. We also think about rhythm, right? So we've got a nice steady rhythm or something. And disease comes from the rhythm and the tone being off, like we've lost the harmony. We've just lost the natural harmony that nature can really help us get into, right? Just the cycles of the sun, the beautiful stars at night, you know, the winds, the feeling of the earth underneath our feet.
Even the seasons.
Exactly. Everything is like in this beautiful kind of rolling, ever-changing, slowly harmony in a way, right? And this is so beneficial to us. But if we get out of harmony, and maybe we've got an alarm clock that rings and we've got to get up and jump, and we bolt down some coffee and we get out and get in the car and drive as fast as we can to, you know, somewhere so we're not going to be late, you know, and maybe we didn't get a chance to eat. When that starts to happen, you know, regularly over and over again, our body comes out of harmony. It becomes ill at ease or diseased. And so music can help us reestablish that. You know, I mean, just the simple fact, I know all of us sit down for a minute, put on some beautiful music and just relax, you know, or put on some fun dance music and dance around and have a good time with our friends, right? And
or
laugh.
with ourselves.
Exactly. Or with ourselves. Yeah. You know, so that kind of thing reestablishes harmony. And in sound healing, we have different instruments that are designed to kind of catch the mind's, the busyness, right? Our busy mind that's thinking about all this and that. We play a really beautiful, let's say, Tibetan bowl or something, and the mind starts to hear it, listens to it, and tracks it all the way out as it rings and gets even quieter and quieter, and it helps the mind to become more meditative. So the mind is busy listening to that. And mantra does that as well, just chanting something over and over. Gives the mind something to do. And helps the body to relax. and the actual physical vibrations that happen in the, in the area around our being. So everything is energy. All this between you and I, Yael, is not just nothing. It's a conductive, energetic field, right? That is electromagnetic, carries messages, carries sound, carries vibrational messages that you and I send each other even. Like, have you ever had those little miracle times when you're thinking about your girlfriend, you think, okay, I'm going to call her, pick up the phone, and oh my gosh, she's on the line, right? Yes. I mean, I've had that. It's so wild.
So many times.
Yeah. And that is this beautiful, etheric. So we have all the elements, and this is the ether element, the etheric connection. Music really works on the etheric level. Sound healing instruments. And basically the ether, very, very refined energy, also responds to the vibrations of like a tapped Tibetan bowl. So we tap the bowl, and not only is our mind listening to it, but physically we have energy that's moving. And, Einstein said, we've got this whole thing about matter kind of all mixed up. Matter is, and he said, is really just energy, right? So everything is energy. There's no difference between matter and energy. Matter is energy. It's just energy. Einstein said that it's close together, moving slowly. So it kind of perceives to us as something that's solid and dense. But it actually is completely energy as well. So the whole medium in which we exist and live is energy, right? And so sound, music, then we tap the bowl, the bowl is holding harmony. A Tibetan bowl is fashioned by hand, tapped with hammer, had mantras chanted as it's being made. Wow. So beautiful. Beautiful intention put into it. And as we tap it then, that signal, not only the tone, but the intention that was held as it was made, is moving out on this electromagnetic grid, which then comes into contact with our physical body. And being our physical body, it seems really solid, but it's actually energy as well. And so it moves into the physical body and begins to set up a new vibration. A vibration that's its message, that's its harmonic message. And so it helps us to actually literally, physically become more in harmony. And there was a man, Edgar Cayce, he's kind of known in the world as sort of a predictive psychic man in the 1940s. And he said that the medicine of the future would be music and sound. And music and sound is high on the level of experimenting and, working. Quantum physicists and scientists are working a lot with the vibration and music and sound, as vibration is the essence of creation.
Wow, there's so much to take in there. It's beautiful because we all know this feeling of having maybe an off day and then putting a song that we like and it really lifting our whole mood. And also you really feel the effects after you go to a sound healing or after you experience a beautiful song or a beautiful instrument, you really feel the effects in your body. And it's very interesting also what you said about that our body is actually an energetic body. Do you remember the moment that you became aware of the energetic world? I know you started a while ago.
Well, I mean, I usually don't talk about this so much, but when I was 15, it was on my birthday, and I lived, with my family in California, Southern California, and I was just having a birthday party with my family. We had cake and all. And then I went back into my bedroom, and I was sitting on the edge of my bed, and all of a sudden I felt as though my entire world it was just vibration, it was just energy. And I started, it was very, very, how can I say? It was very difficult for me in a certain way. It was very shocking for me because I started to feel my entire consciousness, my perception lift up out of the top of my head. And wow. I felt like, how sometimes you feel when you're in an elevator, you go fast up like that? Mm-hmm. I literally felt like I was zooming out of the top of my head, just fast. Wow. And everything was vibration. So I was 15 then. And at one point it stopped, and I felt, actually, it stopped and I felt my body way, way below, but I was, still sitting there, and I could feel my consciousness, and I sort of, in a way, opened up my inner eye, I guess, in a way, because I'd just been feeling the movement mostly, just all that vibration. And I opened up my eye, my inner eye, and I looked out, and I saw what I thought, as a 15-year-old who'd never had anything like this happen before, like all kinds of eyes, pairs of eyes looking at me all around. And not really just looking at me, but just being all around, like a whole field of consciousness and a way of beings, I think. Mm. I'm not 100% sure what it was. And then for like a few years after that, I could not kind of control that happening. I just would sort of every now and again start lifting up out of my body. My consciousness would, and I would just feel wow. it. I could manage being, like in daily conversations and stuff, like here, I could like carry this on like a conversation with you, but also at the same time was this sort of vast energy thing happening.
Wow.
Yeah. And I had no idea what it was. When it first happened to me, I laid back down in my bed as fast as I just like, and my heart was pounding so hard, and I was really, really frightened. I couldn't figure out what it was. So that was kind of the beginning of my sort of spiritual quest in a way. I started, wanting to know what that was. And so that's when I started reading about meditation, studying. I was only 15, so there weren't many teachers around. But finally, in my early 20s, that's when I met a few teachers. Swami Satchidananda, for one, being one of my main teachers at that time, and it really helped me to start understanding through meditation and pranayama and that kind of thing, energy, vibration, and how to like have our practices, our yogic practices, to be able to, deal with it and work with the energy. And yeah, that was, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. Yeah, and that happened to me.
Wow, that sounds incredible. Are you able to kind of explain it now, and having all this experience of what that experience was?
I think so. As I said, I really don't talk about it so much. And I've actually never told like a teacher or anything about it. But the way that I see from, what I've studied and what my teachers have told me is that it was an opening maybe through the Sushumna channel of the kundalini rising through the chakras and opening out. I've always, since then, been able to connect pretty easily with a Sushumna feeling and movement through the chakras, and to be able to open up the crown chakra is, I mean, relatively natural for me, I guess you might say.
Wow.
From that, I think from that experience, yeah.
Wow, wait, I need to take that in. That's incredible, and it actually explains a lot about your being, because you just move with such presence, and you kind of feel like ethereal as a being. I know it's uncomfortable to hear, but it's true. So it really explains it.
I think, what a lot of my process has been is to ground myself, like to come and really settle. And that is what I feel yoga is super important for too as well. Because, not only is the idea of opening up and lifting up and opening our chakras that way, but also it's a two-way energetic. It's like the torus energy field, like the torus donut energy field. Have you seen pictures of that? Well, the toroidal energetic field is kind of a flow of energy that happens around living organisms. So it is a flow. It looks like maybe if we were sitting in the center of a donut of energy, right? Mm-hmm. And the center of the donut is sort of hollow, and it's right down, up and down our spine. And then not only in a toroidal field of energy does the energy like lift up, it circles around and comes back. It's like recycle, mm-hmm. It's a system that is a constant recycling system. It's a perfect energetic system. Mm-hmm. And not only does the energy go up and back down and up and recycle that way, but it also goes down and up and recycles this way. Mm-hmm. So there's two meeting energies that are going like this, right? Mm-hmm. Through the center. And the earth has a toroidal field around her, and the axis of the earth, right, is the center. And so it is kind of like a quantum physics model of the way that energy moves around and through an organism. Mm-hmm. There's so many different fields of energy that we can look into. There's the biofield, the Schumann resonance field around the earth. There's epigenetics and morphogenic fields, which are kind of resonances that are left from our family legacies, and everything is energy, mm-hmm. And energy is never destroyed, right? One of the tenets of quantum physics is that energy, it transforms and changes. Mm-hmm. So it can be so many different things. And yeah, I had a student once last year. He was from Austria, and he's a nuclear physicist, right? Wow. Mm-hmm. And so he studies energy. And, I asked him just to talk to the class a little bit about how he felt. And he goes, I used to really not know if I believed in reincarnation or not. He goes, but I really do now, because I know that energy never dies, mm-hmm. that it just changes and transforms. And so for me, he said, it makes sense that our consciousness is going to move into different levels and, understandings, but never really die and transform. And so the idea, in yoga is that our consciousness draws to it certain preferences and experiences that we've had that are what the yogins call samskaras, mm-hmm. right? So a samskara would be held on the unconscious and the subconscious levels of our being as energy that's drawn in and held in a pattern, mm-hmm. right? And it stays in that pattern. And as we begin to experience things on the conscious level, And we have physical manifestations and, actions and things that happen to us, right? That is what's called karma. And the samskaras kind of blossom into karma. And we get an opportunity in our lifetime to work on those experiences and kind of touch down into our more subconscious, unconscious levels of where we held those ideas and preferences and begin to kind of, through our karmas, work them out in a way. Because the essential field of energy, right, that we live within and on, and that holds all this, is without configuration. It really, and this is something that that Buddhism really holds a tenet for, right? That this energetic field, we could think of it as a field of potentiality. Yeah. And so it can be anything.
Right.
And so our consciousness, through its continued evolution, learns through then karma. Our samskaras have blossomed into karma. We get an experience, and then maybe we let that perception go. Maybe we completely finish the karmic seeds, as Patanjali calls them, seeds, right? And we work it out. It's like being in a play. And we get an opportunity to work out certain things. But it's a long play, right? Not just this lifetime. Because we hold many, many things. And to be able to open into the complete openness of the field without any differentiation takes so much surrender, unconditional love, right? Trust. And we all, I think, touch that in moments in our lifetime.
Right.
But then something will come up and challenge us, push our buttons or this or that,
Yeah.
And then there's our opportunity to see, okay, this is something that's come up for me, and how can I work with this, right? And so the idea then is that all of us draw to us the experiences that are just perfect for us to begin to open up into the wholeness, work out whatever things we need to work out. And eventually, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
long time.
A few lifetimes.
Yeah, just a few. And, honestly, I would not be so pretentious enough to say that I really understand this all, or that maybe, these are things that I think about, I feel, I've read about, and still there's this just incredible mystery. And, so, what, for me, I like to keep an essential openness about everything and play around with ideas and play around with feelings and hold, kind of a ground, a flow, and, humility in a way.
Yeah. Beautiful. I need to take that in. I knew this conversation is going to be incredible. I didn't anticipate how much, but I think it's incredible. There's so many interesting points about what you said. The samskaras being different experiences that we went through, or different even actions that we did that were saved in our energy body, or even in our soul, would you say, in our kind of being, and then transferred throughout the time that our soul transformed. And that is actually what our karma is. So these, how would you call it? Like memories that are held in our being, and then energetically draw in different experiences to allow us to work through these different samskaras and work through these memories and release them. And I also love that you said that there's a great deal of surrender and trust that needs to come in here, that it's because we all know when these experiences come, it seems sometimes that it's impossible to deal with it. And from my experience also recently, when these things come up, it's really our first instinct to run and to try to numb it and explain it away and push it away and, try to avoid it. And just being able to really sit with it and experience it and let it pass through is extremely difficult, but also the only way that we can actually deal with it. And I also love the point that you brought up about potential, because there really is infinite potential. So in the same, we get caught up in this won't work, what if that happens, all the things that can go wrong, but actually the same amount of potential is also to the things that can go right. And potential is really what the limited potential is, how much we can imagine, right? If we think that we're only capable of doing certain things, then we will be able to do certain things. But if we change our way of thinking of things and realize that actually it's infinite, the potential, and what we're able to do, then actually what we will be able to do will be infinite.
Absolutely. I feel that as well. And I like the way you've described it.
Hey, I'm quickly interrupting the episode to extend an invitation. If you are interested in deepening into any of the subjects we talk about on the podcast, we offer many different experiences on our beautiful grounds here in Baja, Mexico. From 9-day modules such as sound healing and yoga nidra to breath and meditation, as well as 200 or 300-hour yoga teacher trainings and many different shorter retreats. Check out our website, Yandara.com, to see all the information about the different experiences. Let's get back to the episode.
I think that it brought up to me what you were saying is the kinds of time that's involved in infinite potential and our visualization of it and our, understanding that we can tap into that. On that level, on the energy level, everything is kind of fast, very facile, very responsive, right? As it filters into the physical level, it slows down. So it's like we have this amazing infinite potential that for most of us, if we wanted to visualize something and actually in yoga there's something called the siddhis, right, which are the accomplishments that come from being able to access that field of potential. And there are yogins that have amazing siddhis. It's part of the lineage of yoga, where they can do what we would consider kind of miracle type things, because they can access that infinite potential and focus so completely clearly on it. The lag time between their thought of it and the actualization of it is hardly anything. But for most of us, we think about the potential, we open up to it, we energize it like with our hearts, and then we wait and we let it grow like a natural, it's part of kind of the natural cycle here on earth. And actually, I remember thinking about this and reading a few things and thinking not too long ago about that we could think of it like we're infinite beings that have access when we leave this physical body to that infinite potential plane of existence. And for us, when we're on that plane, everything is so responsive and instant, right? And we are these infinite beings that have chosen to come and be more grounded in a way, more confined, like in a physical body. And that we are feeling the polarities of being earthed in a way, you know, of time. That, okay, I really would like to have this thing happen, right? And I'm dreaming about it, but wow, it's like been 5 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just having to deal with that and all the steps towards it. And it's a okay, so it's a different consciousness than our essential self-consciousness without the body, right? And to incarnate here, like, is in a way a pull into that. And some of us have made conscious incarnations where we've decided we want to come, we want to feel this, we want to work on maybe some of the things that we have a propensity to divide and hold in our mind, which separates us from the infinite whole, right? So we want to come and work on those things. And that's where yoga comes in, where we become awake and aware of who we really are as these essential beings and the energetics that we can look at ourselves and look, what is our essential, personality in a way? What have we come here? What are the things we want to do? What are some of our natural imbalances that we've come here with? And that's sort of like our path in a way. The things that are difficult for us are where healing is being called for, right? So there's signposts in a way and clues to help to get us into understanding again our infinite being. So it's an interesting journey, I find. I like to just think about it in that way, think about, well, we are infinite beings and we've chosen to come here. Some of us consciously, some of us, as you said, you talked about the samskaras. Some of us are led by our samskaras, our more unconscious and subconscious ideas and patterns that separate us from the whole. And so samadhi, when we come into nirvana, samadhi, some of the words that we use in yoga when we take steps in first we have our yamas and niyamas, Patanjali, right? The codes of how to work in society and how to kind of address our personality and mold our personality. Then we come into asana practice and then pranayama, right? And then we move into a sense of bringing the senses, instead of looking outward all the time, pratyahara, we bring the senses inward, we turn our attention inward, then we go into dharana, which is basically a way to focus our attention, to keep it steady, and then we go into dhyana, which is like meditation, where we hold firm on the essential inner self, right? So all the outer things we've started to leave away and we come in, and then we go into samadhi or nirvana meditation. This is the kind of the effects of meditation, or the result of the practice, really. And that is that spaciousness where we can touch back into the field of potential that's non-differentiated and spacious, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's an interesting journey,
Yes.
of outer and inner. And I kind of love the idea of not just making it one, but both. It's an outer expression and an inner turning to receive and an outer turning to give. And in that is kind of like the pulsation, really, of life in a way. Yeah.
Again, that harmony, that balance.
Exactly.
I heard somebody speak about it in the terms of our outer world is only as expansive as our inner world is. And if we want to become more, I don't know if successful is the right word here, but maybe more aligned and feel more harmony in our outer life, then it really begins from the work that we do inside.
For sure. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And actually, one of the things that you said made a lot of sense to me. And that's what I feel about these different philosophies and approaches. Like you said, none of it is certain, right? We don't really know if it's like this because it's things that you cannot measure. But sometimes you hear something and it just rings true. It feels like a remembrance and not a teaching that somebody just tells you and you have to take it for true. And that was when you said, because I always had this feeling that I want to be older, I want to accomplish already, I want to already have all the things, I really felt in such a rush. And it's beautiful what you said, that you see it as that when we're in the energetic field, then really there is no lag time between wanting to do something and it actually happening, or calling something in and it arriving.
Right.
And that might be the dissonance that we feel of wanting something and then sometimes it's so hard to wait for it to happen.
I know. Yeah. It's part of, I think, probably the experience that we want to feel as incarnate in bodies, right? Maybe it's so like open when we're out of the body that we want to feel grounded. We want to feel that, So I've played around with the ideas that some of us want to feel pain. We want to know what that is so that we can feel the opposite of it. We want to, that's what, like it's part of being here on this planet. It's like the word Ananda in Sanskrit has been translated as bliss, right? And when I was younger, I thought that I had to be yogic and to be in bliss, everything had to be wonderful, right? I had to feel good. I had to be happy all the time, kind and nice to people all the time, never in any pain. And I had a teacher then explain to me and he said that Ananda has many times been translated somewhat incorrectly. And that it does mean bliss and that feeling of bliss, but it's not because everything's perfect, all good kind of perfect. The idea of Ananda then is kind of similar to in chapter 11 in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna and Arjuna are out in the middle of the battlefield, and Arjuna's, really shaken to his core about the situation he's in, and he's having to, face people that he loves, and, go to war with them, and people that he's known all his life. And so Krishna's helping him understand kind of a large perspective about life and about kind of the drama and the play that we're in of life in a way, and to look at it from a little bit farther back. And so at one point in chapter 11, Arjuna asks Krishna to please show him his complete form, right? And Krishna says, well, I don't do this very often because it's pretty overwhelming. It's huge. And he said, but I love you, Arjuna, and I think you can handle it, so I'm going to do it. And so Krishna opens up to what they call his Vishvarupa, or his great form, right? Rupa means form. And he opens up into that, and Arjuna sees all of creation in all its manifestations of pleasure, of ecstatic bliss, of deep pain, of death, he sees all the people on that battlefield marching to their death, right? He sees gaping mouths and, scary, scary things, and beautiful, incredible things. And Arjuna starts shaking. He can't deal with it. He's like, he starts to tremble. And he says to Krishna, please, go back to your regular form, like incarnate in a body like here, like me right now, please. And so Krishna comes back to his body form. And the teaching kind of is that in the totality of existence lives both the polarities of pure wonderful goodness and very, very intense hard experiences. Like in existence we have both, and as we open up to those as a yogin, the practices of yoga are to help us to find the center between the two, where we can look and feel and see each thing as a perfect expression of the procession of life and energy. And when we begin to understand, find the balance between the two, and see that part of life is the passing away of life, that if everyone lived forever here on the earth, it would soon become very difficult, right? And so we see it in nature. A plant, has a little seed, springs up, has its fruit. Everyone enjoys the fruit, the seeds come down again, and there's a cycle, the plant dies away. And so to understand that natural cycle on the earthly plane here is what Ananda is. And when you see that everything is in its perfect place, even the suffering and the difficult parts are there to help us to open up, to learn whatever particular things we all need to learn. It took me a long time to be able to understand this, because I was so upset about all the suffering on the earth. I could not reconcile it in my mind. And finally, the idea of this bliss is that, okay, there's a peace within it all, underlying peace, that within this great swing of polarities between, oh, so wonderful and oh, so hard and awfully terrible, right? Then there lives the center line of kind of meaning, in a way, that keeps flowing on, of life force experience. And the fluctuation from one side to the other becomes less and less, and that's where, like, the breath and the chitta vritta nirodhana, one of Patanjali's first little sutras of the cessation of the waves of the mind, right? We come swing way out one way, swing way out good side, way out bad side, good side, bad side. More and more, we come more and more to the center line where things still find stillness. In our stillness, we find our breath. And that's what Ananda means. Ananda, that's the bliss. Not that everything's good all the time. Right. So that idea then, and that concept to instill in us a certain kind of resiliency and a certain kind of steadiness, right? Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that you took it to meaning, because it really does help me, at least, reconcile the good and the bad, because in the end it all has meaning. And if you can derive meaning from the good and the bad, then the experience isn't wasted.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Okay, Mercy, I have so many more questions for you, but I would love for you to read the quote that you brought. So maybe we can go from there.
Right. So this is a beautiful book that I've just recently been looking into. It's called Yoga Spanda Karika, and the sacred texts at the origins of Tantra by Daniel Odier. And I kind of like to do a thing where sometimes I just open up books. And so I opened up to this one, and I've been looking at it for a couple months now. And it has to do with what this Spanda, the word Spanda, Karika is the name of the text. Spanda is the vibration of energy that we've been talking about, right? So when we Om, we make our chants, any of our humming or chanting, singing, we are hooking into the vibration of all the nanoparticles of existence. And that's called Spanda in Sanskrit. So this is about Spanda. The whole text. Interestingly enough, so cool. They have a whole type of yoga that was like predecessor to Hatha yoga that's based on Spanda.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like, it's a type of yoga movement in a way that is very vibratory. And, I always love to include shaking a lot in my classes, and it's kind of, on the shaking level, kind of something like that.
Beautiful.
Anyway, so the stanza is through the intensity of objectless desire. Contemplation emerges in the heart of the tantrika, united to the profound sacred tremor. Now I'll read it maybe one more time.
Please.
Through the intensity of objectless desire, contemplation emerges in the heart of the tantrika, united to the profound sacred tremor. So the tantrika is us, right? This is the yogic practitioner. And I thought maybe I could read a little bit of the comment because I really like some of Daniel's comments.
Wonderful.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So he says, the desire of the tantrika is never dampened. And she, I'm going to say she, since it's you and I,
Yep.
It could be he or all of us. She is the sacred tremor itself. But she no longer goes through life like an arrow toward a target. She encircles all of reality like a halo. And in this space allows freedom to all trajectories. So I'm going to read that again.
Beautiful.
The desire of the tantrika is never dampened. So our feeling of life, that feeling that impels us, never dampened. We are the sacred tremor itself. So there's no difference between us and the field, the entire field.
Yes.
But she no longer goes through life like an arrow toward a target, right? She encircles all of reality like a halo. And in this space allows freedom to all trajectories. So, we've been talking about how samskaras and our karmas and that kind of thing hold us to a certain trajectory, right? But then as we begin to open up and we feel the entirety of the spanda, the vibrations, then we can open up and allow freedom, right? So in this great cosmic movement, the endless interlacings are the very blood of the tantrika, like rainbow-colored ribbons. The different realities undulate endlessly in the sky of consciousness, which has recovered its true nature.
Beautiful.
Sweet.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And it also really connects for me with what we were speaking about life being in cycles. And if we don't, because we have this inclination to want to control how things happen and have a goal and work toward that goal. And that's really part of our modern society, right?
Yes.
We're supposed to have these goals. And and
creates a lot of tension kind of in a way,
Yes.
don't you think? I mean, honestly, I feel everything is about balance. If we have no goals, then we're probably a little bit too loose, maybe, to know. I feel like, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it just kind of brought up. I feel like it's important for all of us to think about things, feel things, and ask questions in our own being and look at our lives and learn from that, you know? And for me, I've spent many years thinking about things and pondering and meditating, and, you know, it's like I would urge everyone to do that as well, to find some kind of a balance, like a point that works for each one of us, right? You know?
Yeah.
So if we go through life only as a target, right, only with that focus, we might be a little too tight in step.
Yes.
But if we have absolutely none at all, what do you think?
Well, then I guess we kind of are aimlessly wandering, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, do you think, okay, so to me, here's the magical part. What if we think about a balance between the two that is an internal kind of an understanding of a connection between the intimate, essential self and the field of potential that essential self lives within. And then think of it in terms of vibration and spanda, and that moving really quickly back and forth between the two, you know, like really fast.
Yes.
Like vibration. And so the intimate essential self is our target, kind of our focus line, right? And the outer field of potential is the whole. And so it's kind of like a natural, perfect balance between the two. Does that seem like something?
That's incredible. It's incredible because it really is about, first of all, always coming inward and in trying to move forward in life, because there is a directionality in life, right? We're born as babies, we grow up, we need to support ourselves. It's also part of our reality to have a profession, to support ourselves financially and all of that. It's just part of our reality. And in that, it's beautiful by itself.
Exactly.
And when we think about it as this balance of what you said as, I need to grasp what you said, the balance between the potentiality and all that we can do, and then also being content and focused inward to what already is, and really having it be going back and forth all the time, connecting to the vibration that is always happening. And in that way, instead of, pulling towards things,
right,
attracting them.
Exactly. And kind of like moving in a balanced way everywhere. You know, it's like a natural, like a river flows.
Yes. Yeah. And it also really connects to what we said in the beginning, that it's really about finding this balance of harmony all the time.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you maybe share with us, what have been some practices that were beneficial and helpful for you in finding this harmony?
Well, For me, always a kind of breath connection to movement, being in nature, being outside, swimming in water. Just love that one.
Yes.
Sometimes things that challenge me, like, would be, I'm actually sort of a shy person, and although I love music, I'm challenged to have to get up in front of people and do music. But when I do that, I find balance for some reason, because one of my tendencies is to be more inward, right? I can sit alone all the time, what I mean? It's easy for me to be, really kind of quiet. And for me, it's challenging to be out in a big group and all that. And so for me, that's one of my practices, to get out and share. And when I do that, I think I strike a better balance than just being alone.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so sometimes things that are more difficult for me have helped me grow and find balance and appreciate I have, in my later years of being with yoga, have begun to appreciate the quality of, how can I say it? It's like a communal oneness. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Not only on the physical level, which is quite wonderful in itself, but to live in community, a yogic-focused community, but also on the level of mind, heart, energetic, a oneness there. When I was younger, in some of my studies of yoga, I understood yoga in my own way as being something that was very personal, kind of, and maybe some aspects of yoga tend to foster that feeling more, where you go, you're alone, you're by yourself, you take a retreat, you get up at 3 a.m. in the morning and you meditate, and you do your practice on your own, right?
As one does.
Yeah. Yeah. And, when I was younger, I did that a lot. And I thought, okay, the idea of my personal enlightenment is that I'm going to do these practices, and everything's got to be kind of quiet, and I'm going to get up and do this all on my own. And as I proceeded through the years, I realized that silence is communal, that vibration, that oneness vibration, is essentially one with all beings. And to really be what, we would term an enlightened being would be that we would just kind of flow into that communal vibratory field. Yeah.
Wow.
So for me, it's been a really great journey of opening, to that as an expression of all of us.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And it's very true that actually part of our human experience, another part of it, is our interactions with others. It really, because to do the practices alone is one thing, but our interactions with other people really bring out a whole new level of teaching and learning and challenge and joy and happiness. And I love that you brought it back to the vibration, that it's always finding this harmony of flowing together and the balance, really.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can't wait for our next conversation because there definitely will be another one.
Thank you.
But I would love for you to close this episode with a song because I just love your voice so much and I would love to share it with whoever. So would you grace us with a little song, please?
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Yael. It's been wonderful to hang out with you and talk and feel each other. And thank you so much, sweetie.
My honor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mine too.
Maybe you can also explain what this beautiful instrument is.
Okay. This is called a tambura. Some people call it tanpura. And it's an instrument that represents kind of, in a way, what we've been talking about, the idea of just the essential vibration of oneness. So as you notice, it doesn't really have any, separate notes that we put on it, just the notes that the strings are tuned to. And they represent the Om in a way. And the overtones, the little high and low notes, the undertones you hear from the notes that are plucked are all the vibrations that come off of the strings and work with our vibratory body. And chanting is about connecting to all aspects of our being, the physical, the emotional, mental, spiritual. We are really multi-dimensional beings. And this is, I thought maybe we could chant the Gayatri Mantra. Beautiful. The mantra for spiritual light. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Vargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. On all these spheres of existence, may this beautiful, resplendent, self-effulgent inner light and outer light of the great sun illuminate our meditations. Om Bhur Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhur Bhuva Tatsavitur Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimai Diyo Yona Prachodayat.
Now, after this time to nurture your mind and your spirit, we invite you to take a moment to consider others. A kind wish might come to mind. Know that what we learn becomes more valuable when we apply it and share it with others. So share this episode on Instagram stories, tag Yandara and I, or share with a loved one so that more people can benefit from it. Our hope is that the search will lead you home to who you already are, to what was always there. We'll be back next week with more inspiration, honest conversation, and insight into the energetic world around us. Thank you for listening and watching.